There's something about this practice, though, that does create what came to me is I was like, we've got to write a Dharma talk. The term that came up was a settled body. A settled body. And I see this, people who practice a lot of Zazen walk into a space where there's difficulty and their bodies are less activated than the other bodies. Because their bodies are accustomed to sitting down in a room full of people and then having occasionally enormous emotions come up or amazing imaginations of the past or the future that are very activating, and realize all this can happen, I can witness it, I can care about it, and my body can just be totally still, except for maybe your heart. That might be happening. Oh, you get to see that. Oh, and settle around it. Settle around it, because your awareness is big. It includes how far away are those birds? That's part of your body. Your heart is small. It's important. It's not overwhelming. Not everything has to pour there. How do I manage this? Well, this is part of the whole thing. I care. And we just see people able to have this settledness. And, I just remembered an instance from years ago where and I say things like this, I'm like, people are always going to try and figure out who this is, but whatever. People in my family were fighting, and it was like, they're really mad at each other. We're trying to, clean something to prepare for an event. We're going to have people over, so it's very joyful. We're going to clean the house to make it ready, and people were really mad at each other. And this happens. You get stressed when you have to have people come into your space and all that stuff. And I was just like, well, I could use my normal conditioned response and try and fix everything and manage everybody, which is a speciality of mine. Or I could just know this settled body. And I could just keep cleaning, not because I'm trying to avoid their conflict, but as a way of being radically present to it, without messing with it, without trying to fix, judge, or control it. And whether that was the best thing to do, I don't ultimately know. But it seemed pretty good. The conflict died down. We all love each other. We all argue. Sounds like samsara. One of the coolest things I ever saw in terms of the settled body happened in this building years ago when the Zendo was on that side in that small room. And there's a big aperture to enter. And anyway, I found out about this afterwards because I was looking at a wall, but apparently a squirrel walked into the Zendo. And the way it's set up would be kind of like if the squirrel walked directly between me and the Doan, which is Ramon in this case. So it's like, boom. And it was classic. Tim just like, eyes are open. Eyes are open. Eyes are open. And the Doan was like, this is my job, my role here is to take care of the space. And I think it was Andrew, whose last name escapes me. He just stood up slowly enough that the squirrel didn't move. And just put himself between the Zendo and the squirrel with his back to the door, and just started slowly walking. And the squirrel, there's multiple apertures, and the squirrel just walked back towards the door. Andrew opened the door, and the squirrel left. The settled body. The squirrel didn't have to be like, oh, it's scary. I was like, yeah, we love squirrels, but it's probably not a good place for squirrels. So that's why we have a long-standing tradition of every gathering, there's a assigned squirrel usher at MZAC. That part violated my vows not to lie, so I'm sorry. I'm just going to quote something about the settled body from Resma Menachem, who's like writes about embodied awareness, in particular in relationship to dismantling racist structures. And he's a trauma therapist, so it kind of comes through a Western trauma lens. But he's talking about how the subtle distinction, which we often make here, between trying to calm yourself and actually being settled. So he says, referring to trying to calm yourself or avoid how you are rather than actually being settled. He says, we do this more often than we realized. In fact, sometimes when we think that we're settling our body, we're actually avoiding its experience. As I wrote in My Grandmother's Hands, which is quite a good book, few skills are more essential than the ability to settle your body. If you can settle your body, you are more likely to be calm, alert, and fully present, no matter what is going on around you. A settled body enables you to harmonize and connect with other bodies around you while encouraging those bodies to settle well and creating possible somatic alignment. It's very weird because I feel bad quoting Resma because he sometimes seems kind of annoyed that Buddhists are so into he's like, you're appropriating my thing. But it's like, that is exactly what I'm talking about. Not avoiding the experience, but really letting it be there, and somehow that makes a space where other bodies can settle. That's why Tim came in here and sat every morning for all those years. He wasn't like, you should sit like this, or this is how to do it. He just sat there, and I sat there, and something happened. A somatic alignment of connection, of peacefulness, of settledness.